戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow.
You're listening to Canary Crying News.
No.
Today is
Something
January.
happened to the StreamYard.
You're back.
We got kicked out. I don't know what happened. We're back. Okay. Well, I'm back.
You could have been like totally quiet, and you were back in at the perfect time.
Oh, hey,
nobody
Basil.
would have noticed. It was beautiful.
You were blank on my screen for until the last like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. You were disappeared, but you were back right in time to say
good.
you're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is January 14th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 907. And today it's the Clinton Blackout. Signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy Basil, and you are not crazy.
Thank you for that. I am glad I'm not crazy because, man, everything just shut down for a second. That was weird. My name is Gons, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, the author of Archetypalism, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It is Wednesday.
My dudes.
And according to the Canary Cry calendar, it is Take a Missionary to Lunch Day.
Yeah.
It is something that is observed annually on the on Wednesdays. It's
on
Wednesdays, second Wednesday. I don't know. It's today, yeah, January 14th. Yeah, it is an actual thing. I didn't realize this was like a real thing. Hold on, I found a website. There's a website for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it says here on the website, Take a Mission to Lunch Day, January 14th, according to National Today.
Okay.
Do we have any info on this?
No.
Today, missionaries can be found in various nations around the world. A missionary is a member of a spiritual collective who has been sent to provide literacy, education, economic development, and healthcare services.
What?
This holiday sheds light on the good work they do in areas they travel to. This sounds like a mission statement for
NGO. It sounds like an NGO co-opting and redefining the word missionary. They're trying to make it secular. They're trying to disconnect the word missionary from religion and connect it to NGOs, the secular religion of the New World Order, liberal economic world order. Of course, they couldn't help themselves. What website is this?
This is nationaltoday.com. I was going to say it reads more like the protocol for Hermes Trismegistus, the occult magician, to teach mankind all of the ways, or like Azazel and the fallen angels, the B'nai HaElohim from Genesis 6 and the Book of Enoch, provide literacy, education, economic development, and healthcare.
Various watchers teaching various.
Yes, very, very familiar type of stuff.
Interesting. Wow. There's a twist on it for you. The watchers were just missionaries coming.
They were just missionaries.
Dimension
for Satan,
literacy, education, economic development, and healthcare services. I mean, that's basically what is.
That's basically what they did. Yep. Here's how to make weapons. Here's how to cut the root and get all spiritual.
We had a big day kind of sneak up on us, Gons. We didn't really realize it, but thanks to Sir Darren Knight of the Hungry Panda, sent us a tweet earlier today, and he has a screenshot here of the mobile app for Apple Podcasts, I believe, and it says the creator, Basil and Gons, talking about Canary News Talk. Episodes 999 episodes on the RSS feed, which of course we're only 907, technically episode 907 today. So that means we did what, 92 non-episodic episodes. These were flybys. I think we posted some interviews on this. So technically, if you're a podcast listener on the RSS feed, this is your 1000th file for the Canary Cry News Talk RSS feed. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Sir Darren Knight of the Hungry Panda. And so congratulations on technically 100 or 1000 files uploaded, Guns.
All right.
Let's invite some dudes over in fellowship tonight.
Oh, that was for the missionaries. Sorry.
That's okay.
A little late. I don't know the jingle. It could be both. Yes. This is great. Between Canary Cry Radio, Canary Cry News Talk, and Face Like the Sun, I mean, it's up there. This is
we
total all of it.
Add Ravel and TJT.
Oh, Ravel, we're talking.
We got episodes coming out of our ears, but
we probably have about 4,000 files published.
Lots of files. The files are in the computer.
Lots of files. Lots of data.
Speaking of fellowship Guns, there is, I suppose it is proper of us to recognize the passing of an individual who has been quite the presence online, really starting sort of around COVID time for people skeptical of authority, skeptical of sort of manufactured secular culture, things like this. Of course, he's famous for other things like decades and decades of making comics. This morning, Scott Adams, the creator of the Dilbert cartoon and general sort of roguish scoundrel on the internet, passed away of his prostate cancer this morning. So very sad to hear about that. But the news is not all bad. And you can really only have this kind of perspective when you do sort of orient your understanding of the universe and of eternity around a biblical perspective, a sort of focus on God's timeline and the ever continuing story of history, because what's getting a lot of attention, this was actually last week. This was before his passing, but this made a lot of waves last week when he came out with this clip here where he, I guess, announces or discusses his relationship with Christianity, which he was not. He was decidedly a sort of secular figure. He was kind of a member of like the intellectual dark web type of group, which is very scientific, came out of parts of that group came out of like the New Atheist movement. But he posted this clip last week, which has a lot of people talking.
Whenever I talk about the simulation, and especially when I talk about my own impending death, many of my Christian friends and Christian followers say to me, Scott, you still have time. You should convert to Christianity. And I usually just let that sit because that's not an argument I want to have. I've not been a believer. And but I also have respect for any Christian who goes out of their way to try to convert me. Because how would I believe you believe your own religion if you're not trying to convert me? So I have great respect for people who care enough that they want me to convert and then go out of their way to try to convince me. So you're going to hear for the first time today that it is my plan to convert. But my understanding is you're never too late. And on top of that, any skepticism I have about reality would certainly be instantly answered if I wake up in heaven. I do believe that the dominant Christian theory is that I would wake up in heaven if I have a good life. Yeah, I don't necessarily have to, state something in advance. And so, to my Christian friends, yes, it's coming. So you don't need to talk me into it. I am now convinced that the risk reward is completely smart. If it turns out that there's nothing there, I've lost nothing, but I've respected your wishes, and I like doing that. If it turns out there is something there, and the Christian model is the closest to it, I win. So with your permission, I promise you that I will convert.
Wow.
He promises to convert. Now, this, as many people probably experienced just now watching the 2-minute clip, there was a bit of mixed reaction. The first half, you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. He's getting saved before he's on his deathbed, or at least while he's on his deathbed. This is wonderful. Then, he mentions how it's the dominant Christian idea that if you live a good life, you go to heaven. I would not say
right. This starts theology bullet points start to kind of, all right.
That's kind of the secular idea of what Christianity is. But he's new. Okay, let's give him a break. And then he does get very frank in the fact that he's like, well, it's a better wager to. I don't know if he uses the word wager, but he says
he says risk reward.
There's a good risk reward to convert before I die, and so there you go. I'm doing it. And lots of people are saying, hooray, this is great. Lots of Christians are, of course, because it's the internet, getting into very heated and ongoing debates about whether this truly means. I mean, there's nothing better than a bunch of quote unquote internet Christians who, find a lot of meaning in arguing over other people's salvation. It's always been like this. We've dealt with this for a long time.
It's pretty low-hanging fruit of the internet if you're a believer, I would say.
I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do on a Wednesday afternoon?
Sure,
If you're not getting into Canary News Talk, you might be tempted to this argument.
I would argue there'd be less of that if more people tuned into Canary Cry News Talk.
Well, that's the idea. That would be the hope. But here's the point, is this is nothing new whatsoever. First of all, arguing over somebody else's salvation, when in this case, I think he expresses an authentic desire, although maybe mathematical wager, to get saved before he dies. And, the internet is exploding in conversation as if this idea is somehow brand new, that the risk reward of following Christ is some sort of, I don't know, just sort of technocratic.
It's just a gamble on Poly Market, just the next prediction market.
Yeah, right. You can see.
Line, which one are you feeling?
Anybody who's been in the business of following Christ for any amount of time, you should know that this particular bet is extremely old. It's like 1,000 years old, and we can say it all together now. It's called Pascal's wager. Yes, very famous theological thing that theologians have been talking about for at least hundreds and hundreds of years, if not more than 1,000 years. I think hundreds and hundreds must be right. And the idea is, okay, if you are a secular person, what is the risk reward of becoming a Christian in whatever way that means. And, if there's nothing there, then you didn't lose anything. But if it is true and you go to hell, you're going to be very sad that you did not bet on Jesus.
It's a bad deal. Yeah.
So,
No, there's one famous quote from recent times, and that is from C.S. Lewis, Christian Apologetics and God in the Dock. Christianity is a statement which, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. So, some sort of similar idea there that Scott Adams shared that comes from the Pascal's wager.
And it's very difficult. I mean, it is very easy, but, is very strong theologically, foundationally, is that our salvation doesn't come from us anyways. It's, the faith that we have comes from God. We do not do anything in this sort of cosmic sense to earn our salvation. This has been, of course, an ongoing, very, very intricate theological conversation for many millennia, but the long and short of it is our salvation doesn't come from us. Faith doesn't come from us. It comes from God. So questioning others' salvation is just sort of a Sisyphusian task to bring in some other long-time philosophical conversations. Now, he does mention something that's very interesting, especially coming from the secular or atheist or new atheist movement, which everybody should take as a positive. And he talks about how he's actually grateful for all his Christian friends and Christian fans who work so hard to badger him about giving his life to Christ, because that tells him that those Christians really believe it. And this is something that's, lost on a lot of atheists or agnostics or whatever, that it should be taken, and he takes it as a wonderful compliment and a sort of show of true, I guess, belief that a Christian is concerned with your eternal being and would go through the hassle, the ridicule, the interpersonal friction that it can cause to try to bring you to the right side of the cosmic chessboard there. And he has positivity about that, which another super famous new atheist, maybe the king of the new atheist movement, this was back in sort of the early 2000s, Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller.
Yes, the magician.
The magician, and he, after the magician stuff, he wasn't in Vegas anymore. He became just like super hyper atheist content creator and had all these debates and was very flamboyant about it. And, would have considered maybe himself to be like the biggest critic of Christianity, and he's gonna prove everybody wrong because he's such a good atheist. Even Penn Jillette said, it warms my heart when Christians try to convert me, because that tells me that they really are concerned. Like, if there's anybody you should give up on, it's me, Penn Jillette. And don't even try to get me saved, because you know what I think, how I speak, you know what I'm equipped with and what I'm all about. And so when you do, willingly put yourself in this friction situation trying to convert me to Christ, it tells me that you really do believe what you believe, and you really actually do care about my eternal soul. Whereas if there's anybody on earth you should maybe just let go of and let go to hell, it would be me, Penn Jillette. So it's actually, at the very least, I think a sign of intellectual honesty on that side of things. So yeah, overall, I think that's a victory. And like some chatters were saying in the chat here, who was it? Garden Revelation 9603. I think we might be surprised who we see in heaven and who we don't.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine one of the, they're doing the hand symbols and everything, and the little mustache, you're very surprised. A lot of people.
You never know.
One thing, the one thing that I noticed, and this is obviously the conversation, what I want to tell the people listening out there is to enjoy these moments when the debate is about true sort of theological things, because And you know, a lot of people I think are noticing that, hey, we're not really responsible to really know where Scott Adams is now, and that kind of thing, because we always kind of look ahead and we're looking over the horizon, and you know, we're watchmen and doing the whole thing. There's something that Scott Adams wrote as part of his written message that struck me, and he says here,
You're talking about his last words.
his
what he
last
put out
words, yeah,
today? Okay.
yes.
Put out a
He
letter
said,
today. It's his last words.
right. Well, he says he wrote this on January 1st, so it's a couple weeks old. But he says in the letter here,
Yeah.
my body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this, January 1st.
Said, if you are reading this, things did not go well for me. So this was planned to be released on his.
Yes. And it struck me, this idea that, yes, and this is true with a lot of older folks, is their mind is there, their body just fails them. It's this thing that we deal with called death. And where we're headed technologically, scientifically, the celebrity that dies, we're going to have celebrities or well-known people who are going to do the upload thing. Sometime in our lifetime, Basil, someone's going to, whether it's a PR stunt, whether
consciousness to
and perhaps, you know, frame it as, hey, my body might be gone, but my mind will remain, and you know, everyone can interact with whatever GPT, and it'll be just like hanging out with me, and yada yada yada. That'll be the message anyway. And so that, you know, looking at a world that's more like that, you know, and we base it off of interesting scriptures like Revelation 9:6, that people seek death and not find it. You know, there's a lot of context there with locusts and the bottomless pit opening. So there's more to it than just people trying to upload their consciousness into the computer, which some could argue is what's going on with the abyss. But the just culturally speaking, having that genuine theological discussion, I think a lot of people who are young now and will remember this, will look back and say, wow, it was nice when we were just debating about whether Scott Adams is actually saved or not, you know, rather than, hey, is this really him? I mean, I interact with this AI GPT every day, you know, I mean, I'm pretty much hanging out with him. I can pick his brain about all kinds of stuff. And, you know, the debate will be very different in those days. But anyway, yep. I know it's a little bit of an outfield thing, but it's just kind of struck me with the way he was talking about the separation of the mind and body.
Sure.
Specifically.
Yeah. Well, and the long and short of it is that even Apostle Paul and others in the Bible write of salvation as a mystery. It's inherently mysterious. It does not follow any humanly logic, which is a big problem with atheists and just people.
Yeah,
you know,
just in general. Yeah.
The non-logical facts about salvation, which is why, you know, the human brain seeking logical reasoning for everything. If you're trying to sit there and science your way into what salvation means, you can't do it. It's always been a mystery. It's meant to be a mystery, and sort of, you know, coexisting with the mysteries of God is one of the great joys of following Christ. So we're praying for Scott Adams' family and friends and everybody who he had impact on. He wrote many books, and lots of people are, you know, very, very impacted by this.
Well, you know, NBC News, the way they wrote about it, Scott Adams, Dilbert creator and conservative commentator, dies at 86, and then subtitled, the artist told fans in May that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Hundreds of papers dropped his cartoon in 2023 after he made racist comments.
Yes, lots of mainstream media called him a MAGA influencer, a racist cartoonist. This is expressed here in this image that people put together. People Magazine, they have O.J. Simpson's eulogy headline: O.J. Simpson dead at 76 from cancer, family announces. Then they have Scott Adams, disgraced Dilbert creator, dies at 68. Making the comment that you can literally murder your wife and get a better eulogy than if you.
That's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, well, do we expect anything else from People Magazine? Who is actually reading People Magazine? I don't know a single person who reads People magazine.
NGO,
is a dentist's office keeping them employed? Like who? I don't know. It drives me crazy.
Well, on that same note, Gantz, as long as we are exploring the sort of spiritual and theological things going on in the world and in the headlines, we have specifically not talked about Renee Good, the woman who was shot by ICE last week, which was the best possible thing to happen if you're Tim Waltz and you're about to go to jail for stealing billions of dollars, and whistleblowers in your own Democratic establishment are, throwing you under the bus for, stopping investigations and the Somali connections and $700 million brought out of suitcases in the Minneapolis airports, and all the political hullabaloo about Tim Waltz, who is pretty objectively in pretty hot water. The best thing that could have happened to him was an event like this, so they could distract everybody, they could fire up the base, they could get the paid agitators in there, you can get soccer moms chasing around federal law enforcement. And in this case, of course, everybody heard, but Renee Good, despite what the sort of mainstream media would like to tell you, that she was just casually driving home from dropping off her child at school and then got shot for no reason. She was part of this sort of this non-official institution trying to obstruct ICE enforcement. And whatever you think about what happened there, and was it right, was it wrong? Of course, we never like anybody to get killed by law enforcement at all. The ongoing hullabaloo is just you can't avoid it. However, there was an update from CBS, and I just mentioned this CBS update because it is Barry Weiss who got put in charge of the CBS News thing, and there's much more about that too. Barry Weiss, who got put in charge, formerly independent, I guess reporter or citizen journalist or something, getting given $150 million to become the head of news at CBS News. The only outlet reporting so far, and reporting this morning, breaking: the ICE agent who fatally shot Renee Good on January 7th in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident, according to 2 U.S. officials briefed on his medical condition, which is, I got a lot of problems with Barry Weiss. I got a lot of problems with CBS News. But the idea that the ICE agent wasn't in danger and didn't get hurt and was just a rogue, psycho, is kind of what the basis of the entire argument against ICE in this case was based on. But CBS coming out and saying, no, he actually did get very hurt from the altercation. Now, whether that changes anything on the ground, we have no idea. But what I was absolutely stunned at was CNN. CNN brought on Renee Good's father. And I'm sorry if you guys are not I would be so surprised if you do not have an understanding of the general gist of the breakdown of this Renee Good thing, kind of trying to make it a new George Floyd. But they brought on the father of Renee Good onto CNN. You can hear here the anchor is reaching for what CNN would be required to reach for, which is, let's get the father on here. Let's get him to get people fired up. Let's get him to tell the story about his daughter, was whatever, just give the parent sort of reaction. And this really stunned me, and I think it stunned a lot of people. And it's a beautiful illustration of a point that we've made for a very long time. So let's watch this.
Nothing about charges or anything just an investigation into what happened in terms of the ICE agents' actions. But they were, according to the prosecutors resigning today, pressuring them to investigate Renee's actions and Becca, her wife's actions. How do you feel about all that?
Well, I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, it's a hard situation all the way around. It's hard for for everybody involved. I mean, the ICE agent, at first I didn't see the footage where, he was actually, he was actually being ran. I mean, I seen the bump of the car hitting his legs. And so in a flash like that, it's hard to say how you would react. From my understanding that he had been through that before, maybe dragged or something. And so, like I said, it's just a hard situation for everybody. Becca, she's a great person as well. I mean, I don't have any many enemies. I love everybody, and that's what the Bible tells us: love our neighbors as we love ourselves. But I think there's some bad choices, and the word says, "For the wrath of God will come upon the children of disobedience." And it's I don't blame us. I don't blame Rebecca. I don't blame Renee. I just wish that if we're walking the Spirit of God, I don't think she would have been there. That's the way I look at it.
Wow, like the disgust on her face. She's just like, oh,
He really
what do
is.
I do with that? Oh,
He is really
it's like
not
the
happy.
demon came just right to the forefront there. Interesting.
It's bad enough that he didn't lean in and get everybody fired up and talk about whatever, the Nazis. But even worse for her is talking about, when you're walking in the Spirit of God, you just don't get put in these situations. Things don't happen like this. And it really struck me. I think it's, you could talk about this guy all you want. Again, you can question whatever you want. However, this kind of message echoes exactly with the core principle of what we try to bring to this show and to the internet at the very foundational level is, look, we can get fired up against this and that, and we can take political sides, and we can get amped up and get good clips and, get everybody fired up to produce the show by playing on emotions or whatever. But the very fundamental spiritual principle is, it is the grace of God. When you walk close to the Father, when you follow Christ, when you try to take the mind of Christ in everyday situations, when we're being absolutely bombarded on the internet with fifth generation warfare on all sides, even just to rile you up and get your heart twisted in a bunch and get a black veil pulled over your eyes, whatever it is. But the antidote, the inoculation, the true power of walking with God is stepping outside of that paradigm that the enemy wants you in. And in this case, CNN being a representative, as they have for so long, of, principles delivered by the enemy upon this world. And when you, when you really have your mind focused on God, it's not about which side is winning or which side is right. You take this sort of third stance, the heavenly stance,
and narrow path.
And it absolutely, notice how he didn't win an argument. He didn't make a political point using, religion or using God. He was completely outside of the like win, lose, left, right paradigm. He was absolutely sort of walking and displaying the radical revolutionary, posture of focusing on God, walking with Christ, that totally disables the weapons of the enemy, just neutralizes the battlefield. And you can watch it on the anchor's face in real time. And, I really hope and pray that this is some sort of seed to millions of people to see, like, oh my gosh, that's how you defeat this whole thing. It's not about making sure your side wins or talking about how awful the other side is. There's this godly way of being that even a father in this situation, who is actively being weaponized by one side and probably has every material reason to give this CNN reporter what she wants. There's GoFundMe accounts. They're raising $2 million. I'm sure he's got producers or NGOs or anybody whispering in his ear, like, we're going to take care of you. don't worry, your daughter's going to be a martyr, you're going to be okay, all this kind of stuff. Just go on CNN, say what we need you to say. And he gets in this situation and totally neutralizes this battlefield to the total disgrace of the enemy. So I think there's some, I almost got giddy watching this guy, and not because it's like a win for Christians necessarily as us, but it was just an awesome display of sort of heavenly weaponry, almost like you see those clips of like, oh my gosh, Russia's new big Satan bomb dropping on Kyiv. Watch the military might of this new weapon we could never fight against. Or, hearing about the Delta Force in Venezuela using energy weapons and nobody can stand against us. This was for the kingdom of God. No one can stand against those who are posturing themselves with the ruler of the universe. It was impressive to me in that same way.
I think the idea that we are in some kind of peak for this type of thing, I mean, it might change the fabric of mainstream media a little bit and move away. But I think the disgust on her face, to me, is almost part of drawing in a lot more believers, conservatives, whatever, to clip CNN. I mean, we haven't clipped CNN in a while. We haven't had a reason to, but you got to draw in the conservative side. Now, everything you said I agree with in terms of the spiritual realities being presented to the masses here, because ultimately we are in a cosmic spiritual war, and when it comes to the realm of the spirit, the unseen realm, it's a lot more black and white than it is in our fallen world where things are confused. The wheat and the tares grow together. So everything you said I agree with. Now, if I'm thinking critically about this from a sort of fifth generation warfare perspective, or just analyzing the fact that CNN has this man up here, he's got this very beautiful take that is sort of biblically or God-centered, that disables the emotional riling up, has its own emotional rile up. Just watching you and looking at you, Basil, as an indicator of getting excited about this.
The demons are mad too.
The demons are mad, yes. But perhaps this is meant to be. And because what this does also is, for the people that have really been leeching off of CNN for a long time, and they have the liberal perspective and they support the Democrat, whatever, like they're just very all in on that machine, their spirit would be exposed in a clip like this. Because if they're outraged, like, I can't believe it, to me, in my opinion, it reflects an antichrist spirit of like, hey, you're reacting. And I know this sounds weird, maybe to some, but just not growing up in the church and looking back, hindsight 2020, I would have visceral reactions to people talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
Initially, like I remember, like there's no reason for me to, because I was a kid. I didn't really know much about it, but I would hear somebody talking and I would just have this visceral reaction. I'm like, oh. And looking back, that's like the Antichrist spirit. It's like a real thing that you don't have to be taught it. We're kind of born into this world, and in the fallen state, it's almost like a default. It's the code that comes with when you're born. It's like the broken code that you're born with, in a sense. Just an analogy, folks. But so in that way, what CNN's doing here, I do believe that perhaps this is stoking attention from a lot of the believers, and certainly right now, the conservatives are louder. They're a majority. They've always been, I think, a majority. I just don't think they've been as vocal or political in the last few decades, leading until the last, maybe, I don't know, the last 10 years has certainly been part of this change in the pendulum. But for CNN to survive, just practically speaking, they can't just die on the hill of the lib sort of left dynamic. They need the attention of the other side. And so, this kind of makes sense to draw that too, because CNN is struggling. Are they not? Have they not just been on a constant decline? I'm thinking about a generation or two in the future. Are they even going to be around? Is it?
Yeah, they're trying their best to adjust, but yeah, the same principles are at work.
Yeah. So in that context of the fifth generation war and all this, I do think it's a very powerful way to read the room in a sense where we are culturally. And I'm sure there's benefits numbers wise, but also on top of it, yeah, I'm not going to get in the way of displaying on an outlet like CNN God's true power and his, like you said, a very supernatural and almost, cosmically relevant type of heart posture on things like this that should be emotionally or are usually emotionally very charged and usually vacuum that emotional charge being sucked into some political movement or maybe monetary gain or something like that. And in this case, it's a much more, and again, we don't know what's going on in the background, but maybe he was told by another group of people, hey, go up there, just disarm and, we'll take care of you.
Probably not.
Those guys aren't going to take care of you. Yeah, I don't think so. But you never know.
You never know. No matter what he says. But yeah, so there you go. I wanted to play. We had a boots on the ground. Speaking of people walking in the spirit of God in these sorts of places, we had a boots on the ground report coming from Sir Ike from Jefferson City in the capital of Missouri there. And there were some updates over there. We get to hear from our friend Patrick Holland. I want to play this boots on the ground report before we move on here.
Hey, Canary family, this is Ike here. I'm reporting boots on the ground from the Capitol building in Jefferson City, Missouri, and I have Patrick Holland of Missouri Freedom Initiative here with me, performing one of his famous knock and shocks. Pat, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay. We've got our hip waders on here because it's pretty swampy here, but we're getting our message across, which is interesting. This is a new year. This is our first knock and shock of the year. This is where we start getting intel. This is how we determine the mood of the Capitol. And the mood is, and by the way, it's like I'm predicting the weather for you. I'm the weather guy. The mood is swampy. It's awfully swampy here. So basically, we just met with the lieutenant governor who says that one of his main goals of becoming lieutenant governor was to drain the swamp in Jefferson City. So I certainly hope that's correct. As we push forward with the bills that we're wanting to see passed into law in the state of Missouri, one of which is SEPA. And at some point, maybe I'll be talking with the Canarians about that.
So we could explain to everybody out there, what is SEPA about?
SEPA stands for the Second Amendment Preservation Act. We had it in Missouri for 2 years before it was overturned by the Eighth Circuit. What it said was Missouri does not enforce federal firearms laws, period, end of story. But it's better than that because actually we find people in the state of Missouri who do enforce federal gun laws or use federal charge codes for firearms, $50,000 per incident per person. So we take our gun rights very seriously here in the state of Missouri.
So this is a lot more about protecting the citizens of Missouri from federal overreach.
That is correct. It's specifically to protect the citizens of Missouri from federal overreach and also making sure that our state understands that our state should not be participating with any activities having to do with firearms where the federal government is overreaching.
Sounds like you got a lot of work ahead of you.
Yep, we do, but we're up to the challenge. We're going to do it. We've done it before. We'll do it again.
All right, I won't hold you up anymore. Thanks a lot, Pat.
Thank you, Isaac. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, think outside the cage, everybody.
Get a double barrel shotgun. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Watch out! He's got a gun. He's going to steal your banana.
Thank you very much, Sir Ike, for that boots on the ground report there. And I want to encourage anybody out there, if you are involved in any sort of local politics, local movements, or really anything of interest to the Canarium, you too can take a little recording, send some boots on the ground reporting. You can either email it to us at canarycryradio@gmail.com, or you can also upload it over at canarycry.art. You can upload the file there either way. But thank you very much both to Sir Ike and Patrick Holland. Hopefully we'll get to speak with him soon. And I thought this was a prescient report at this time because it's one of those moments in history, whether we're watching movements in Venezuela or Greenland or Iran or even, ICE on the streets with the sort of leftist lunatics, whatever the case may be. It's a perfect opportunity for those who are paying attention it was a good opportunity for me, and I've been very sort of vulnerable and transparent about how effective certain stimuli and actions can be uh, to really get you fired up for the federal government in one way or another, and with Trump in the federal government, there's lots of opportunities to sort of let down your guard on the powers, being gained or being exercised by the federal government. And, that might not mean that we become total, bootlickers overnight, but it is an opportunity for us to practice, really paying attention to the sort of incremental movements of our feelings about, really anything, but in this case, the federal government. And there's a lot of Missouri Canarians out there and a lot of really active Missouri Canarians. Missouri, goodness gracious, I still think it's one of the coolest states in the union. And much of that is for this exact reason, that Missouri in general had made headway on really exercising states' rights, in this case, in the context of the Second Amendment. But then new state politicians get in, through Patrick Holland and Sir Ike, we kind of are aware of the active swamp monsters that come in and out of the state
I'm
government.
excited to learn more about the SAPA thing, the Second Amendment Preservation Act. So much so that the first search result is from the NIH, National Laboratory of Medicine. And the NIH website has an article here. I don't know why it's the medical journal. Missouri Citizen Perceptions, Giving Second Amendment Preservation Legislation a Second Look. And I'm trying to figure out what the angle is from them. And obviously it's a big, long document, so I can't absorb it and, say anything concrete. But why is the NIH talking about SAPA? It's very interesting.
Yeah, considering gun legislation a sort of public
Medical
health
thing.
concern,
Yeah,
it's
public
very,
health concern. Yeah, very fascinating.
left-coded there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to Patrick Collins soon. He actually told us about the first run at this earlier when he was on the show a couple years ago. But of course, there's always things. It's a constant battle. It's back and forth. And, at the same time, there's a lot of struggle right now. I would call it both political and spiritual struggle when it comes to the role, the powers, the sentiment about the federal government, the overarching federal government, as opposed to the sort of the federal states, meaning sovereign states, cooperating together for all sorts of reasons. It's all connected to the Federal Reserve. 1913, the Federal Reserve Act. We are all aware of the effects of that and the ghost of that hangs over our heads all the time. It was the same year that I forget what it's called. I forget what the law was called, but they also passed a law that started the absolute explosion of the federal government, its sort of sovereignty over the states. This is where the real decline of the original setup of our country, meaning, sovereign states coming together. This is when the Federal Reserve really took its broad powers and started becoming one sort of monstrous organization. And it happened the same year and parallels with the Federal Reserve system perfectly. And we're sitting here at a possible inflection point for the Federal Reserve, at least the powers as they stand, its influence as they stand, big battles going on with Jerome Powell, even bigger battles going on with the basic infrastructure of our economy, moving to infrastructure that basically makes the Federal Reserve more or less obsolete. And that it's a good opportunity, even spiritually. While the Federal Reserve fights for its life, the federal government is also going to be fighting for its sort of authority in all cases, which is against what the founding fathers had originally planned.
Is it the Revenue Act of 1913?
No, there were several.
And reintroduced income tax into the United States, shifting it from tariffs to
that too. I mean, 1913. That was the Revenue Act. That's when income tax first came around, and it was basically the equivalent of, oh no, don't worry, it's just 3% on what would amount to billionaires. Don't worry, working man. Income tax is not coming for you. And, again, talking about inflection points, we at least have the theater of Trump talking about getting rid of income tax in favor of tariffs. Today, actually, was the day that the Supreme Court was supposed to rule on whether Trump's
kick the can down the road, just slow it down.
But we got the news this morning that the Supreme Court is pushing off that decision on tariffs until June, which is a good sign, because historically, the more that the Supreme Court pushes something off, the more likely they are to not actually, do something horrible with it. So, but we'll see. I mean, a lot was riding on that too, the tariff thing.
Yeah.
We talked about it last episode, but
as
usual, the Supreme Court doesn't want to be responsible for destroying the country.
Yeah, you had just before we move on, just to kind of put a bow on this whole segment and tying it back to some stuff we did earlier, you talked about CBS and how they basically have a rat line to Trump, basically, with what's the name of not the producer, but the
Barry Weiss.
Yes, Barry Weiss. So just as an example of the CBS situation, the Daily Beast had this headline: Trump mocks MAGA-coded anchor's salary in unhinged interview. And this is a guy named Tony. MAGA-coded, yeah. So Tony Dokopil, I don't know how to say his name. He's a new guy over at CBS, a new anchor. And I'm not going to play it because it's a 5-minute interview. But Trump talks about all these things. He talks about how he cut federal jobs because, we don't need the federal government to be paying these jobs. The private sector can handle it, kind of thing. And he talks about how he loves the sound of the machines in the background, and then points at this guy interviewing him at the very end, and basically says, like, if the other guy won, you wouldn't have a job, and if the other guy won, you would have a job, but you would get paid a lot less. And it's just this weird. They're trying to make him more MAGA friendly, but he just got completely roasted by Trump. So it was hilarious, but you can see how even CBS is trying. They're trying really hard to turn the page on stuff, so much so that the Daily Beast is going after CBS. I mean, what kind of upside down world is this where the Daily Beast is actually criticizing, a new anchor for CBS for being too MAGA coded. So anyway, that's kind of the state of affairs there.
Before we move on, I want to give a shout out to our executive producer. We got a tight schedule today, so we're not going to do a full producer segment at the end, but I do want to make sure we thank our executive producers, and we have one non-executive. So big old shout out. We are on the value for value model, folks, which means we don't exist if people who get value from the show don't produce with their time, their talent, their treasure. Of course, go to canarycry.support to learn all about it. But I just want to give a big shout out to executive producer Sir Jamie, not the Lannister, for coming in.
Jamie, thank you, Sir Jamie.
Thank you. And also Sir Alex Protocol V2, Baron of the Breen Protocol.
There he is.
Thank you. He's coming in with his $100.33. Appreciate that. It's on a 554 episode streak and a 108 episode executive producer streak. And we had, let's see. Sir Darren came in with an 1111 producership. Thank you very much.
Hey, Sir Darren. Thank you.
He had a message here. It says, looked at Apple Podcasts and you had 999 episodes. So congratulations on 1,000 CCNT Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much, Sir Gary, for noticing that, bringing it to our attention, and producing the show.
Appreciate it.
We had a monthly producer join. Jonathan C. came in.
Ooh, Jonathan C. Thank you. We're going to get all the alphabet. If you're Jonathan and you have a last name,
yeah,
which most of you do, we gotta get all the Jonathan alphabet to be
We're doing
producers
pretty
of the
good.
show.
Getting pretty close. He joined at the $6.99 a month. That's the Netflix with ads producership amount. Thank you very much. If you're going to pay $6.99 to Netflix, you might as well help out your buddies over at Canary Cry News Talk as well. And a big shout out to all of our monthly producers who maybe they don't get their names read on individual episodes, but they come in, support the show, make sure we can survive. And if you get any value, folks, from this show, go to canarycry.support. Support in whatever amount makes sense to you. It's barely about the number, but it's more about joining the team, putting value where you believe value should go without the need for advertisers, corporations, cartels, governments, that sort of thing. One last thing, I want to remind everybody that CageRattlerCoffee.com is still running their New Year's discount code, New Year, all caps, one word, New Year.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. Go get your Canary Cry coffee. Stop sending all your money to those evil big corporations who hate you and want to poison you with moldy coffee. This is the best coffee. Don't listen to me, though. We had a text come in from 707, and 707 says, had my first cup of Cage Rattler coffee today. I'm super picky, and it's the best I've ever had. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
And we hear that same thing all the time. It's, all small batch, roasted small batch, a lot of loving care going into it. And it's roasted by Canarians. It's shipped by Canarians, packaged by Canarians, specifically for Canarians. So it's a great way. And plus, a portion of every sale comes to support the show, which is a great way to support the show and get your basic needs met by taking drugs in the morning. So go check it out, CageRattlerCoffee.com.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, a few little updates on World War III guns.
World War III. Oh,
World
okay.
War
I was just getting my coffee going.
World War III. We can fight the Third World War down there.
Breaking.
Yeah, just a quick note. This morning, big news. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and other carriers currently experiencing massive nationwide outage across most of the states, affecting customers' ability to make calls and texts to other mobile carriers. So huge telecom. It was probably a hack. I mean, when you have multiple companies going down at once, this is a pretty full-scale cyber attack is my expectation. I don't see any other explanation and haven't heard any other explanation. And you wonder what kind of power would be able to take out all of America's cell phones at once, at least all of them on the East Coast. And of course, that requires the sort of cybersecurity expertise and resources of a sovereign nation. And who's the most famous sovereign nation that loves to cyber attack the US? It's not Russia. It's not China. It is Iran.
North Korea. Oh, sorry. It's Iran.
No, it's Iran. Iran has been particularly effective in cyber attacks in the U.S. That is one thing that makes them particularly annoying to the national security of the country. But if you've been following, lots of craziness going on in Iran. We covered it a bit last episode. The protests are exploding, spreading over more cities of the country. According to reports, there's been more and more and more killings of protesters. I've seen numbers upwards of 10,000 protesters killed. Lots of strange footage and opinions coming out of Iran, possibly from the establishment, because they are showing up on establishment networks in Iran, claiming that the shooting of protesters has to have been done by experts. The shots are too good. The ammo is too specific. This isn't the police shooting them. These are assassins shooting these people. Basically giving the impression that, either Israel or somebody is sending snipers in there to shoot protesters to create the the illusion that the Iranian regime is firing on protesters. Could be true, could not be true. No reason to think that. Well, we don't even know for sure if this is true. But I don't know. Why couldn't Iran have their own snipers? I don't know. It's part of the sort of crazy narrative going on. And at the same time, we covered Trump saying, hey, don't hurt the protesters. We love those guys and we're going to come protect them, Iran. It was reported in Reuters and mirrored here on MSN. Trump's attack on Iran could come in the next 24 hours. Dun, dun, dun. President Trump has likely decided to attack Iran, and the strike could come in the next 24 hours, officials indicated on Wednesday. That's today. According to Reuters, a U.S. decision to withdraw some personnel from bases in the Middle East was widely seen as preparation for strikes. Trump has suggested he would attack Iran if the country's regime continued to kill protesters. Over 2,000 protesters had been killed in anti-government demonstrations, one Iranian official said. Quote, 2 European officials said U.S. military intervention appeared likely, with one saying it could come in the next 24 hours, the report noted. An Israeli official also said it appeared Trump had taken a decision to intervene, though the scope and timing had not yet been made clear. That's the end of the report. Very short, of course, because there's not a lot of information available. But it is. Go ahead.
I was going to say I should have cut my clip because I had a clip of Trump saying that the last time Iran tried to do this, he blew him up. So he was warning them.
Yeah, he loves to brag about the effective military maneuvers that he's pulled on Iran in recent years. So who knows? We'll see. There's been multiple big air bases in Qatar and Saudi Arabia that have evacuated out of American air bases. This particular base, what was it called? I have it here. Where are you? Al Udeid Air Base outside of Doha, Qatar, has been attacked multiple times by Iran. We had those drone attacks last year. And so, targets.
It's interesting that you brought that raw alerts report, because do you see that badge right there, Basil, on the raw alerts account?
Oh, the Polymarket badge?
Polymarket. So Polymarket, obviously we've been talking about Polymarket and the prediction markets and stuff a lot. So you go to Polymarket and the US strikes Iran by ? There's several bets of the different days there. But there are, and I'm seeing a lot of sort of blockchain sleuths pointing out how there are several accounts that will open and you just randomly open and put in a position on some of these bets, pretty big positions. We're talking 20, 30, 40, 50 grand. And once it comes true, they make off with, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000.
Right.
And we don't know who's doing it. Obviously, there's that level of anonymity. But as this prediction market, semi-decentralized prediction market type of thing continues to unfold, we're going to have to pay attention to it in conjunction with time frames that are presented in headlines, because somebody wants to win the game. And if it just means like, hey, I might not get the whole, we might not get the whole attack pulled off and the whole regime change and all that. But, if we can make a couple mil out of it, might as well put in that bet. And I'm not saying it's coming from Trump himself or even Trump's people, but maybe they're leaking. Maybe they got some friends that couldn't help themselves and put in a few bets, and because they've been tracking that kind of stuff, and it seems pretty obvious that somebody knows something, and we should pay attention to some of those big bets that come in.
That's the thing. It sounds dystopian and ludicrous that the betting markets, Polymarket in particular, would be able to be. They have official partnerships with CNN, other mainstream news. These betting markets are legit news now, and it's not just the news being people are betting. It's the wisdom of the crowd, and not just the wisdom of the crowd, but the wisdom of the crowd with money. So if somebody is super sure, like somebody in the administration, someone whose dad is in the administration, whatever, is putting 50 grand down on one of these bets where, maybe you have 50,000 people putting $1 down. The fact that somebody was willing to risk so much money has some pretty significant implications for the reality of these chances. So,
and the thing that makes these types of markets particularly interesting is that, with normal sort of betting platforms and stuff, if you're in sports betting or something, you normally have to wait till the game ends to get the payout. Like, okay, the game is over. Now you can see if you won your parlay, whatever.
Yeah.
With these types of prediction markets, people can pull out their money at any point.
Yeah, you can sell your shares.
You can sell your shares at any point. So it could be that, if it becomes more sophisticated, these wealthy folks might be able to fake everybody out.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what the Rothschilds did to take over the UK banks, right? During the French War. So, I mean, a similar thing that can happen where they're like, oh, we're going to put in this big bet this way. And everybody goes into that bet on that way. But then the reality is the opposite. And then they just rug pull. They pull out their money and boom, everybody's left holding nothing in their bags.
Truly dystopian. So we're looking at a possible 24 hours until movements in Iran. However, just now during the show, a clip of Trump sitting at the Oval Office desk.
Was he signing something?
He was doing something, but he makes the comment. Here it is. Makes this comment. Nope, this is Denmark. Sorry, where did it go? I don't have it right in front of me. But he made a comment to the implication that, oh no, so Iran's being good now. They stopped killing protesters. They're not going to execute anybody. So he's kind of given that impression that maybe, an attack is not as imminent as people think. But
how are we supposed to know?
But he could just be juking the Iranians, because I think it was Beeple who retweeted the Polymarket news that an attack could come in 24 hours. And he made the comment of like, I hope Iran doesn't see this news. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all theater. It's all theater.
All right. I'm going to zoom through these Greenland updates here, Gons. And then I'm going to let you take over from there. Just keeping an eye on our time here.
Sure.
So this morning we had Greenlandish and Danish authorities showing up at the White House to discuss the purchase of Greenland. And one thing people are noting is this video here of the Greenland and Danish guys walking back out to the car from the White House, and see if you notice anything interesting. He opens the trunk, gets his jacket. The Danish guy walks up, holds out his hand. Fist bump. Yeah, good job. So apparently the Greenland and Danish authorities who went to go meet about the purchase of Greenland, people are reading into the fist bump. What does the fist bump mean? To me, it looks like a couple of dudes being like, yeah, we got a good deal. We really rocked at that. I don't know if we're rich. If you go in and say, no, Trump, we're never going to sell. You can take it over militarily. Come and get us. We've laid out, we've built a wall of Legos around Greenland. Come and take it. I don't know if that's necessarily a fist bump moment, but the fist bump moment might be related to some of the rumors. Let's see here. From Polymarket, breaking. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, overseeing Greenland acquisition, is suggesting that a $500 to $700 billion offer is being prepared. So
they're really going to just make 60,000 citizens
10 billionaires. They'll make them. It's about $10 million. I was going
to say, okay, 10 million. Yeah, I was going to say millionaires, right? Yeah, multimillionaires.
I think that's pretty wise. I mean, Trump really showed his hand how much he wanted it. I could see Greenland and Denmark going in there and being like, 60 bill, that's not enough. Let's really squeeze Trump. Let's really deal maker.
700 bill. Yeah.
Get 10x the offer, the original offer. That's a fist bumping deal, man. Now we do have this clip here from the Danish foreign minister. who did make a little bit of a positive remark here.
And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk. We have decided to form a high-level working group to explore if we can find a common way forward. The group, in our view, should focus on how to address the American security concerns, while at the same time respecting the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark. We expect that such a group will meet for a first time within a matter of weeks. And then I will pass the floor to my colleague from Greenland, Vivian Mosfeld.
Okay, so he's saying, hey, okay, we're ready to make a deal. We'll make a deal. We'll be down. We'll be back in a few weeks. We can figure this out, which is better than what Denmark was saying 2 days ago, which was come and tear it from our cold, dead hands.
Right, bringing military out there and the whole deal. It was kind of a big
Now, there were some other movements, very interesting movements today. After the meeting, Reuters reports Germany joins European partners with troop deployment to Greenland. It says here Germany will send 13 soldiers to Greenland on Thursday as part of a reconnaissance mission with other European nations, the German government and defense ministry said on Wednesday, following demands that President Donald Trump for Washington have control of the island.
13, depending, we live in the era of super soldiers, Basil. We know that there are super soldiers in our midst at this point with militaries across the world. So yeah, we mock at 13, but what if this is like the 13 of like the elitist cybernetic super soldiers, you know?
Yeah, so this was noted that they are not NATO soldiers. So Germany did not send NATO soldiers. They sent actual German military soldiers, which might not sound crazy, but does make a big difference. And along with that, the Kyiv Post is reporting Sweden sends military officers to Greenland amid Trump's escalating threats. So I think it's a really funny, I guess, display of, they were making threats that NATO will defend Greenland. Well, what is NATO? NATO is just America. Even if they're German soldiers, they're paid for by America. They're armed by America. There is no NATO without America. America is NATO. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the Europeans. It's just the fact of the matter. And so it's this funny display of like, okay, we won't send NATO soldiers, which is almost all of our soldiers, but we'll send our own soldiers. Here's our 13 best guys. This will fend off the, American empire. But there you go. The Swedes sent out some officers too. It's going to be they're going to occupy. I mean, the other funny part is it sounds like Sweden and Germany could occupy Greenland with about 20 guys. Another good example of what we're dealing with.
Right. Based on the ratio. That's a pretty good ratio, actually, between citizen to military member. So, yeah, it makes sense. All right, we'll keep an eye on Greenland. I mean, it's part of the Technate map, so I'm sure it's going to come under the thumb of the Western Technate. So,
it's going.
Congratulations to the technocrats. They played it well. It was a centuries-long game, but, they're pulling it off.
Yeah.
Speaking of pulling off the new regime, you got to tear down the old one.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
New York Times reporting, facing contempt threat, Clintons refuse to testify in Epstein inquiry. The couple escalated their battle with Representative James R. Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, who said he would move to hold them in contempt of Congress. So just as a primer here, Bill and Hillary Clinton refused on Tuesday to testify in the House's Jeffrey Epstein investigation, escalating a months-long battle with its Republican leader, Representative James R. Comer of Kentucky, who quickly said he would take steps to hold them in contempt of Congress. Basically, they didn't show up to court. And now the update here, the hearing. Yeah, the hearing.
Show up to their hearing, yeah.
And I guess this is much longer than I had suspected. But here's a few minutes of the announcement of the contempt of court.
Well, here we are again. I don't think it's any secret. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton joined her husband in defying a bipartisan lawful congressional subpoena to show up today. I think what's most disappointing to the Oversight Committee is the fact that we have, in good faith, negotiated with the Clintons' attorneys for 5 months. Throughout the past 5 months, they've implied to us they were trying to make a date work. In fact, the last date we had, they notified us 3 days beforehand that they would love to come, but they have a funeral to attend, and we have bent over backwards to try to schedule the Clinton. No, I'm still talking.
All right, okay, it gets a little rowdy there.
Still talking.
You know, it's they had a funeral to go to. I mean, can they be gaslighting the public any more than to say that they're attending a funeral if they want to really rile up the crowd?
Of course, it's a funeral. Nobody had died until they needed a funeral to go to, and then suddenly, like many of their very good friends, died mysteriously.
Yeah, Tim Burchett had something to say about it as well. He's about a minute here.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett just left they subpoenaed Bill and Hillary Clinton on the Epstein situation. Of course, they no-showed. You know, my buddy Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro didn't show up, and they got sent to prison. That's a double standard. And I'll tell you, the bigger double standard is when I mentioned that in the press conference. I wish we'd had it on film, but the press just put their cameras down immediately when I said that. I looked across the front row, 3 or 4 of them, right like that. It's these cards are very much stacked against us and justice. And the Clintons, of course, they thumb their nose at justice because they're allowed to. They've been allowed to since they were in Arkansas, and they're going to continue to do it. And it's really a shame that that's the pinnacle of success for the Democrat Party, really, is that bunch. But that's what we're dealing with. And of course, they had a paid agitator out there yelling at us during this thing and during the press conference, and just pathetic, really. But that's where the left is right now. Thank y'all.
There you go. There's some insight there. And it's just interesting to me that the whole Clinton thing is popping up now. And we just had Bill Gates walking around New York Times Square eating a hot dog for that PR thing. And of course, 2015, 2016 was the kickoff of Pizzagate, which really, I would say, was sort of the starting gun for this era of, I don't know, truth seeking on the internet. It really did shift from just completely ignored to everybody's looking at people's Instagram account history and finding weird photos and, you know, digging up all the stuff when it comes to Comet Ping Pong or whatever that store was with James Alefantis and that whole thing, the whole situation there. And that included Hillary Clinton as part of the whole situation. And of course, you know, Trump ran on arresting Hillary. And now that, you know, we've come this far, 10 years later, the Epstein court situation, and they don't show up, and you know, they just kind of keep skating by. I don't know, is anything going to happen to them, Basil? Because Trump is suggesting that, much like he has over the last 10 years, it hasn't really changed, but corruption is going to end. And he slips in a little thing here about corrupt politicians.
We had a country that was laughed at. They laughed at us 2 years ago. They laughed at us. They thought we were fools. They thought we were stupid people. Now we're seeing that they're not the smart ones, we are. But we have a great America, and we're going to enrich it. And foreign nations, foreign migrants, criminal fraudsters, and corrupt politicians are not going to play a role anymore. They're going to be in jail. Under the Trump administration, we're reclaiming America's dignity, rebuilding America's wealth, and we're putting the productive, hardworking American citizen at the center of every single thing that we do.
Okay, so corrupt politicians are going to be in jail. Very frank.
Okay.
Are the Clintons going to be in jail? Because it's certainly one of the big public targets.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're technically politicians anymore, if you want to get technical about it. Maybe
Yeah,
Tim
it's true.
Walz. Tim Walz, of course, a good example of a current politician. He's trying to get out. He says he's not running again, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, well, you know, it's one of these things. I don't think anybody expected Bill and Hillary Clinton to actually come in and talk about Epstein. But again, the public display of what, every sort of free thinking person knew was going to be the case. Again, of course, implying it's funny because when it gets down to it, they were going to find a way to imply their guilt. Somebody would imply their guilt. Their guilt would be implied when they show up to actually testify on a subpoena like this. But not showing up is just as powerful as an implication of their guilt as anything else. So hard to escape when you've lived a life of darkness like that.
We can't not finish the show today without Trump's little throat clearing that he did yesterday.
Why did he do this? What was this?
I don't know. He was just, it was weird. It was very strange. The other thing, I'm trying to fly through some of the stuff. I know you got to get going, Basil.
Pretty soon, but
yeah,
you can always finish without me if you need.
Sure. Yeah. There's only a couple more things here, but there was one thing that Trump said in that CBS interview that the Daily Beast showed or talked about that I thought was very funny. I don't know if I can find it exactly at this moment, but it's relevant, Basil. I want you to hear it because he made a prediction about something, and I think it's worth for us to hear. So let me see if I can find it here.
They can't get jobs. It's true. We are doing so well. It's hard. Now, what's going to happen is people are being trained rapidly, and you're going to have a thing called robots, and robots are going to be a big factor. I predict that robots are going to be a big factor in the future, and it's going to help out. But
he predicts January 2026. He predicts that robots are going to be a big thing.
Wow.
Look at that.
Trump prediction.
Trump is throwing it out there.
Does he have a crystal ball? Can you see the future? What insight this man has.
So I just wanted to let y'all know that Trump is he took a page right out of the Canary there. He's really putting himself out there that robots are going to take over. All right, real quick here, just some corruption going on in New York City. I mean,
sorry, just real quick because I don't want to interrupt your thing. Sure. Poly Market bet. Let's see. An account that was created 40 minutes ago.
Oh, here we go.
Let's see. Has $160,000 position on U.S. striking Iran today.
Okay, all right. It's happening. It's happening, folks. That's a big number. 160. Okay. They're going to walk away with millions.
Happens,
right?
I'm thinking maybe I'm looking at his actual thing here. It looks like maybe he bought yes with $22,000, and the current position is worth $161,000.
Oh, okay. So he's already up.
If Iran doesn't attack today, he could sell this position and make $140,000.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, well, what are we doing here on podcasting? We should be on Poly.
I know, man. What are we doing?
Shaping the world and making money at the same time. I mean,
honestly, betting on Poly Market is probably the single other thing on this planet that we are qualified to do, which is really
crazy. Here's the reality for anybody who's new or maybe newer. We had this idea. Basil had this idea, right? The New World Order Fantasy League.
Yeah, it's basically
it was basically to bet or score points or some kind of game system based on world events and world characters out there and stuff. And I mean, if that's not Poly Market, I don't know. I mean, we predicted the prediction market, Basil. I mean,
it's funny. Even the spirit of the thing is so close to what we had because, Poly Market, these betting things, they started as sports betting where you bet on sports, right? And the New World Order Fantasy League was based on sports leagues, fantasy sports leagues. And
the website is still up.
The website is still up. Go check it out. Go to what is the actual website?
NWOFL.com.
NWOFL. You can go see all the beautiful content that was created as Sir Dove made all of this art. Producer Laura from Australia put the website together. I think you can still go put your email there to receive a notification when it's created.
We should just plug this right into Polymarket, and we'll take
that
fees.
was the thing. No, so that was the one problem when we were trying to actually build the thing, was that you need an official. The idea was every time one of these characters, whether it's Bill Gates or, whoever, Elon Musk or Xi Jinping, the idea was you pick your fantasy team for that week. And then when these characters show up in the news, doing something NWO style, that it would give points to your team if you have them on your team. And the one thing that really held us back was that we needed like an official way, specifically an automatic way, for when these people showed up in the news or when they whatever.
Yeah, we needed
a system that it could then take that, assign points to it, and go. That's what Polymarket is now. These betting markets are the infrastructure that we needed 3 years ago to actually make the NWOFL work. So if there's any devs out there, anybody who knows what they're doing with building a system like that, all the pieces are in place for the NWOFL to actually work. We just need somebody who knows what they're doing to hook up all the APIs and stuff, because you would just base it on the available Polymarket bets.
Right.
There's Polymarket bets on everybody. There's, will Elon tweet this? Will Xi Jinping, drink this water at a meeting? Like, all those bets exist.
We would just facilitate a curated version of those bets.
Yeah,
so we're not transmitting money. We're not doing nothing. We're just
there's no betting, but it's if the mainstream media is using Polymarket as official news sources, then there's no reason why we wouldn't use that as the sort of data infrastructure or data feed for the NWOFL.
Yep. Well,
the time is here.
Time is here. Yeah, you got
an API dev. Sir Darren says it. We need an API dev.
Yeah,
I'll
an API dev.
Maybe I'll send an email to
the tech team. Where's our tech team?
Canary tech team.
We got to have a couple API experts out here somewhere.
Maybe we'll see. I'll reach it.
Yeah, we got to figure out the way to scam the scammers. Speaking of scams,
or at least have fun.
Yeah, yeah. So former Mayor Eric Adams, and remember, he's a master Freemason. There was a big announcement about how he's a master Freemason a couple of years ago. According to New York Magazine Intelligencer, did Eric Adams just tank his cryptocurrency? Oh, I guess this is a crypto story too, so I can play the jingle. Crypto that you all love.
Is this a crypto? Crypto? Do I look like I know what a crypto is?
It did not take long for former Mayor Eric Adams to dive deeper into a specific post-government duty pet project. Just days after his return to the U.S. from a quick trip to Dubai, of course, where he hung out with a cosmetic. Okay, we don't need to talk about all that. In an interview with Fox Business early on Monday morning, Adams launched a token called New York City Coin, hashtag NYC. Speaking with Maria Bartiromo, Adams said the main reason he was launching this coin was to promote the use of cryptocurrency in New York. It would also fund 3 separate initiatives: anti-Semitism awareness and education, crypto education for the New York City youth, and scholarship opportunities for the aforementioned crypto-educated youth. For a politician who has been boosting crypto for years, Adams did not display a detailed understanding of how it works. In his interview with Bartiromo, he said the word blockchain twice, not blockchain, blockchange, because change is coming.
Blockchain.
Change. But he does appear to grasp what many token founders understand about launching a new coin. It can be money for the taking. About 30 minutes after the coin launched, crypto observers on X, which is just people on the internet, that someone had found that someone had pulled a substantial share of New York City coin from the market just as the value was rising. So the coin launched, right? Anybody can launch a coin. It's no problem. People can see the blockchain. The blockchain is public. It records a public transaction. once you have real world sort of consequential things going on and you can tie it to the blockchain, you can really start to see how the whole thing works, what someone says publicly versus what's happening on chain with the money. And in this case, the token went to $100 million market cap in the first 30 minutes, which is crazy. It's way overvalued. But the market makers, quote unquote, pulled liquidity out of the liquidity pool. The liquidity pool is how the markets work. It's how the price gets determined. And so if you pull the liquidity out of the liquidity pool, the whole thing tanks and the whole thing crashes. And according to the article here, a spokesperson for New York Coin said in a statement that due to increase in demand, the company's, quote, market maker made adjustments to liquidity that they swear are not a rug pull. They swore, Basil. They swear it's not a rug pull. But of course, they also note that Adams gained access to the $3.5 million that they extracted, which happens to be a good chunk of the legal bills that he has from October, which he owes about $4.5 million in attorney's fees. So, how do you make a quick $4 million? You launch a coin. So there's one scam. The other scam, we go from the former mayor to the current mayor. Mamdani was on, there's video footage of him in New York. I'll just play it here and you'll get an idea of the indoctrination going on of the universal basic income concept for the youth.
The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Today, the mayor's on the bus. The mayor on the bus says hello, friends, all through the town. You look really happy.
Oh,
So glad.
I want to share with all of you that I'm feeling happy because yesterday we announced that New York City is going to deliver universal child care for every 2-year-old across the 5 boroughs.
Wow, yay!
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and
The state has control of our children. Yay! We're going to be given crypto coins. Yay!
YNC, that was fun. Now I know my ABCs. Next. Thank you for taking steps to make this happen. It's so exciting.
You are so welcome, and I have to say thank you to those parents as well, because it's because of you and your advocacy that this is actually a reality.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know if it gets any more dystopic than this.
Truly dystopian. That's crazy.
It's filmed in the style of one like the Office sitcom, where it's kind of like realistic but kind of shaky camera. I don't. It just looked like a mockumentary. I don't know, a mocking, a skit of some kind. And Miss Rachel, who, if you have children, you may know about Miss Rachel. She's one of these content creators that makes content for children. Songs and these videos. And for her to just be kind of rolling out this techno socialist program straight to the kids, very, very interesting. And those kids have no idea what they're being told.
Free indoctrination for the 2-year-olds.
It's crazy. And so the world is changing. The scams are becoming more scammy. And, if you think that this is right left, to confuse the thing and to bring up an old point, Fox News reported Mamdani, President Trump have been texting at least twice a week as unlikely bromance blossoms.
Oh my gosh.
It says the socialist mayor and conservative president chat about wide range of topics, sources say. So, Trump's busy making friends with the socialists, and it's really just breaking all the conservative minds out there. It's breaking
I
MAGA.
love Miss Rachel. I love her videos. She's so cool. Do you know her? Could I meet her?
Okay, so there you go. There's all the scams that you need to avoid.
Stay on top of it, everybody. But remember, the way to neutralize the battlefield for your mind, the battlefield for your spirit, is to walk as close to God as you possibly can. So we will let's see here. Well, I'll be back with some Canary Cry Clubhouse tomorrow. So be back here tomorrow. Give a shout out to everybody who joined the Canary Cry text message alert system. If you haven't done it, you should definitely do it. It's a way to take the ability to catch us live into your own hands instead of letting YouTube censor us for you. And all you got to do is text the word Canary to 877-740-3226, and you'll get a text message from me before every show. And the fun part is you can text us back at that number. Not a whole lot of text back today. I wonder if all those cell networks being down stopped a lot of people from getting the text message today.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's the case because I had very few texts back, which is very rare. It's usually I've got to sort through them. And remember, we've got a few meetups going on. If you go to canarycrymeetups.com, we have a meetup February 28th in North Glen, Colorado at Post Brewing Company. You can RSVP to Kona. His website, his text number is there at canarycrymeetups.com. So Coloradans, Denver area, you got a meetup in February. February 7th in Louisville, Kentucky at the Whirling Tiger. So if you're friends with Tim Burchett, go to the Whirling Tiger on February 7th at 3 p.m. The RSVP details are there on canarycrymeetups.com. And other than that, if you're not in Louisville or the Denver area, you can put on a meetup yourself, pick a time, pick a place, send us an email to canarycryradio@gmail.com. We'll put it on the website. We'll tell everybody. Connecting in person with other Canarians in your area might be the single most important thing you can do with your social time these days, because things are only going to get crazier, and having a group of in-person Canarians in your area might be one of the most valuable resources that you could possibly have. So go check that out at canarycrymeetups.com. Thank you to everybody who thank you to the short list of producers who put value back into this show. It's the only way that we can survive. I want to add excuse me, one more producer to that
hiccups.
And that is producer Malik came in.
Malik. Thank you, Malik.
Thank you very much, Malik.
Add to the list.
Let me see how much Malik came in here for. Am I even logged in? I don't know if I am, but it came in as a number that looks like it might be a number to read. Nope, it's not. It's Malik. Thank you very much for your support. Appreciate that. And if anybody out there, if you got any value from the show today, we won't exist without the participation of you, dear listener, in the value for value model. So produce the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure. You can learn all about it at canarycry.support. You can upload your art at canarycry.art. And other than that, thank you to our wonderful timestamper for doing the timestamps for the show. I saw that email from Jade Bouncerson. God bless you, Jade Bouncerson.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
And of course, if you can't make it to a meetup or you're scared to leave your cage, you can join the Telegram or the Discord channel. Thank you to Jam and Adam42 for heading up the Telegram and the Discord. You can go to canarycry.party to find the invite links for those two groups. Highly recommend you do that. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for everything you do. Thank you to Sir Ike for that boots on the ground report earlier in the episode. And thank you to you, dear listener. And it's time for you now to go out there into the world, take everything you've learned today, and go share the show. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Go out to actually don't go out to the protests. Let's just stay away from that.
Stay away from it.
Buy a billboard in the area where the protests in Minneapolis are happening, where it says, are you tired of the propaganda? Are you ready to see what's really going on in the world? Do you have blue hair and a septum ring? Well, find the truth at canarycrynewstalk.com. You can share it however you want. We call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted. I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, any last words?
Tomorrow is Thursday. There's nothing on the Canary Cry calendar for tomorrow.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to tune into Clubhouse. That's what's going on.
Clubhouse is a great thing. And then next week we got Martin, we'll be back on Martin Luther King Jr. Day for News Talk.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Give me a break.
Every American administration will get to that point pre-World War I time period.
Come on, Kissinger.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Howdy, partner. Do you even dare? This is not about freedom or personal choice.
And a resounding baga flies through the air across the world. Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Rattle their cage. You have a lot of people screaming randomly. Why don't you shout? It'll be their call out. You have a lot of people screaming randomly.
Go ahead and...
Why don't you shout?
Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Deconstruction and analyze. Canary cry, news talk. Exposing the lies. Let the glory of Christ shine. With no place to hide. You're like a new age neophyte, running under cover of the dark of night. But the truth will expose with light. Two brothers, Battling Guns podcast. Of corporate news reporting, we're gonna show you how they're distorting the truth into lies. Like a new age neophyte, running under cover of the dark of night. But the truth will expose with light.
value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry.